Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the continuation of my nocturnal engagement with a German patrol. So the situation at the point at which I stopped is not brilliant for us because the Germans have occupied a forward position with their Group B, which stops me from getting my MMG to range chit 4, which is one of my key mission objectives. The other thing they have done is very, very smartly outmaneuver me so that both my B and C group are actually flanked by some rather powerful German groups. So I'm going to have to try and extricate myself from that situation. Unfortunately for me, it's also the Germans' turn. So we're going to see how things turn out. Now, there is no real advantage to the Germans to move either their Group B or their Group C, but if they want to increase pressure on me even further, and maybe even try and achieve some natural flanking fire, it makes sense for them to push their weakest group, their A group, slightly forward. So they're going to do that, play of a movement card, and so they have brought that group right up to relative range 5 to my group in those buildings. Hopefully I'll be able to do something to try and stop them before they get to defensible terrain, but they have some nice terrain in hand and I'm not entirely sure that there's anything I can really do. Now their Group B is flanking my Group C at relative range 3. So luckily for me, they do not have enough firepower, even with that impressive positioning, to use that card. And they are suffering from the same situation on the other side. So again, very fortunately, they don't have enough power to bring me under fire. But what they can do to be really annoying is discard the wire card on me to ensure that my most potent firing group is troubled very deeply. And their card draw to top up their hand has just ended the first of 3 decks, so time is not on my side anymore, if it ever was. So while I'm just reshuffling the draw deck, I'm going to have a quick consider of my options. They are not great. Tricky decisions to be had. Obviously, I think my greatest priority is to try and get rid of that wire card, but I don't really want to be stuck the whole game just extricating myself from difficult positions, and there's that flanking fire that I've got to cope with. Of course, it's all very well for me to pontificate about tactics. The other problem I have is that my hand is absolutely useless. So instead of worrying about that, I'm going to start by discarding 2 cards. Of course, I can only discard 2 because we're conscripts. And hope my card draw is a little more useful. Possibly. We shall see. Unfortunately for me, there's nothing I can do. I could have discarded the brush card on the German group, but I didn't really want to give them free cover. And in theory, I didn't know that they had that in their hand anyway. I was rather hoping they had nothing, but nope. They have entered that section of the settlement or village or whatever we're in, and now they're toe-to-toe with my fellows, and both sides are fairly strongly dug in, or at least well hidden in buildings, let's put it that way. They're still rather disinclined to move because they have these nice flanking positions, but what they will do is get rid of 1 card and hope that they get some decent firing cards, because they can begin doing me some damage if they do. So back to me, meanwhile. All I can really do is take a pop at them with that. So in order to maximize my chance of shooting, I'm going to see if my Group A can see their Group A. And they cannot, amazingly. It equals the relative range, but I have to get less and they're not moving, so they can't see anything. I wonder if my group B can see them. And they can. Group B can see them. So Group B is going to take a shot at them. It's not going to be brilliant. So firepower of 2, half to 1 because it's night. The wire and the hill card cancel each other out, and then it's -1 ultimately because they're in buildings. And because the Germans want to be sure they don't lose any men, they're going to make it a -3 for me. Tough shot. Private Schultz, you are fine. And Private Beck. Oh, we actually managed to pin Beck. Not a bad achievement. That will cause them some very slight annoyance, although I'm sure they'll be rallying him soon. And of course, as always in a night scenario, we've just revealed our position again by firing. I think that's all I can do really, so I'm just going to draw. Oh, brilliant. Could have done with having one of those much earlier. Well, it's no surprise at all the Germans are going to rally Private Beck. But what else are they going to do? Ordinarily, they'd probably be tempted to do some infiltration with that group, especially as they have a spare movement card in hand, but they're still reluctant to move those groups because they're sitting pretty where they are. They don't actually need to do anything. They've already seized my victory objective, so it's down to me to push them off before the scenario ends. So if I were the German player, I would just sit content. And actually, what I would begin doing is deliberately wasting time. So the group on the hill, who like this position now, is going to attempt to entrench. They don't succeed, but it's burning through the deck. And as none of them are really keen on moving at this moment, they might as well chuck out that card just to speed through the deck even faster and get themselves some good firing cards. Now, as for me, I'm once more stuck, unable to do anything useful. So I am going to sigh deeply, throw out my two least useful cards, and hope I get something I can work with. Okay, not too bad. Over to the Germans. Now, it may be worth their while trying, if they want to make sure of me, to see if they can eliminate my MMG altogether, because if they succeed in doing that, then my mission is a bust. So, that group definitely generates enough fire thanks to the flanking fire. They just need to see whether they can see me. And they can't, thank goodness. Okay, so in some frustration, their group B is going to see if they can go down the road of just breaking my squad. They see my group C. They see my group C and they are going to smack them with this. So reduced to 2 for night firing, reduced to 0 because I'm sheltered by the woods. And just because I'm not having this, it's reduced to -2 by play of my concealed card. So wish me luck. Private Storchillo is all right. Christoph is okay. Wihaloft is all right. Aliv. Oh dear, Aliv is pinned. There goes my squad leader. He's not doing very well, is Sergeant Aliv. I'm not very impressed by this man. And lastly, Bybakov is okay. So much to the disgust of the rest of Group C, the only person who's hugging the ground whimpering is the fellow to whom we all look for leadership, but what can you do? Meanwhile, over on this side, Private Schultz is going to attempt to infiltrate my position versus Group A. So there are 4 unpinned men there. Now, going through all the various left and right modifiers, he's in luck. That whole section is a line of red numbers. So, much to my potential misfortune, Schultz has successfully infiltrated my position. This is really not good news at all. Germans are more than happy with that result. They might just discard that terrain card because they have no real need for them at this moment. Might as well up the chances of getting good firing cards. So it's back to me. What to do? I'm going to see if Group A can perceive their Group A. And they can. Oh, I forgot to mark their Group B with a fire token. So we can put some fire on them. I'm going to expend this weak fire card. It's already -2 because between night and the building, so we'll see what happens. Schultz is fine, and so is Beck. Okay. Fair bit of firing on our part to no real purpose there. What about my Group B? It's fairly useless shooting at them. They're in such a good position. I'm going to try a forlorn perception of that group with my Group B, and we see them. Okay. I am going to use this fire card. We're already at minus... Oh no, we're on a hill. We're okay. But, yeah. It's -1 because he's on a hill too. Let's see what happens. We blaze away anyway. Nope. Nothing happens to Schussel. Oh, we do pin Private Schumacher. That's quite useful. And as he never got round to fixing his broken rifle, his morale and panic levels are a bit lower than they should be. Lastly, Private Streak, no, not a problem with him. And this is going to be a terrible waste of a good rally card, but the last thing I need right now is for my hand size to be reduced. So I'm going to spend that Rally 4 card to get the heroic Junior Sergeant Ali back on his feet. And thankfully, that entitles me to 4 cards when I come to draw. Meanwhile, the Germans. I am tempted, if I were the Germans, to get Private Beck to attempt to infiltrate as well. Oh yes, that disappears. So Beck is going to go for it. 3 left. No pinned defenders. He's not moving. He has no concealment cards, so that doesn't help him. Ah, he does not succeed. Okay, so Private Beck has been unsuccessful in his infiltration attempt. Well, that's good news for me. Don't really need more of them creeping into my position. Meanwhile, looking at their Group B, They've not got much by way of inspiring cards, but they might try and see if they can spot that group anyway. No, they don't see them. And in the interests of returning to full efficiency, the Germans are going to rally Schumacher. So a fairly quiet turn from their side, but I'm sure it's not going to last. At the moment, this is not good for me because they're busy powering through the second of 3 decks, and they'll decide to discard that one because with that decent firing card, there's no point keeping it. Forcing the clock to move a bit faster. Oh no, really? I could do with some of those. Well, I really need to get myself moving. So, I am reluctantly, because it's a pain, going to use this movement card to get rid of the wire card, because it's too much of a hindrance. But there's not really anything I can do beyond that. I really would like a discard turn so I could use my sniper, but I'll also settle for being able to shoot at them. Okay. The Germans are thinking it might be worth them moving some of their engagement groups closer if they have another flank card in hand. It will waste a bit of time, but it'll be a good move for them tactically. But they'll have to wait till they get a regular movement card. In the meantime, that group... That group may just attempt to cause mischief. Or actually, no, they might as well preserve his infiltrator status. Old Schultz dearly bought that, and he'll be ashamed to throw it away for no good reason. So, unless, of course, they successfully attack my shakier morale bunch. Actually, it is worth them risking it. Let's see if the Germans can see a target. Their Group A can see my Group A, and they're going to take a shot. Beck on his own doesn't generate enough firepower, so Schultz is going to have to reluctantly join in and lose his infiltrator status. So, fire strength of 1, down to -1 because of my buildings, down to -3 because I'm going to play that concealment card. Private Nosenko, you're fine. Private Sokolov, you're all right. Private Zyakov, you're doing good. And Private Korniev, you're all right too, thank goodness. But that has spent another big pile of cards, and I really need the pace of events to slow down a bit. Because I get the distinct feeling that I am losing control of events at the moment, if I haven't lost control of them already. Otherwise, nothing from the Germans except that they're going to discard that ridiculously huge firing card. Okay. Right, back to me. So, at relative range 5, my Group A can try and return the favour there. And they definitely see German Group A, so they're going to do it. They're going to send some back with interest, so we light up our bit of the front as well. Fire strength of 2 reduced to 0 by the terrain. Reduced to -1 by the Germans being concealed. Let's see what happens. Oh no, did I really need a malfunction? So that is Private Zyakov, who hasn't been looking after his rifle properly. Let's just find him a counter. So we're down to -2 when we get round to Beck. Okay, so no hits there, and all we have to show for our efforts is a jammed rifle. That's not good. My other two groups aren't really capable of any actions with the cards I've got, so I shall draw. All right. Could be better, could be worse, I suppose. Back to the German side. They're still waiting for another movement card to capitalize on that flank card. So that group can no longer play any high value cards because Schultz has been rumbled. But what about over here? They can manage it, and it might be worth them trying to pour it onto my group C. They can see them, and they are going to do it. So fire strength of 3, reduced to 1, reduced to by night, reduced to -1 by the woods. Still a reasonable chance of doing something. Private Storchillo, you're fine. Private Christov, you're all right. Private Wahailoft is okay. Junior Sergeant Aliv is okay, amazingly. And Private Bybakov is okay too. Right. I get to breathe another sigh of relief for now. The last German group won't try anything. They're waiting for an opportunity. Except, yeah, they're not powerful enough to use that card. So they're just going to draw. Oh, rats, the Germans have just got exactly what they wanted. Right, this is extremely frustrating. Nothing I can use here. So I am going to just go for discarding at the moment. So I'm going to discard a wire card on the German heavy weapons group because I do not like them. And I'm going to discard the sniper card on the German group B. So he is aiming for Private Bernhoff. That'd be a worthwhile target. And he misses horribly. So all I've done, I'm afraid, is give the Germans a chance to do unto my sniper what they did, what we did unto theirs. Okay. Right, the Germans have many choices now, including the chance for Private Schultz to maybe try his luck at infiltration again. Or should he? They're going to need to remove the wire from that group before it advances. So actually, no, maybe Schultz will stay where he is. There's no real need for him to go forward. Their group B, not unnaturally. Ouch! My poor, inexperienced sniper tried to get Bernhoff, and all that happened was Bernhoff put a round straight through him. Well, I suppose that makes honours even. Both sides have lost their supporting snipers. And of course the Germans will play one of their many movement cards to remove that wire card. They have very, very good options. They're just going to draw one card and not discard any. Meanwhile, back with me, I'm going to try and get Zyakov to fix his rifle. And he does. Good man. Other options. I could try doing some shooting, especially now that that really, really annoying wire card has disappeared from me. It's no longer blighting my life. And let's see who's in range. I could target their Group B, but that's a lot of shooting. It's going to spend a lot of cards from the deck with a very low chance of doing anything to them, although I do have to shift that group out of my way. Or I could try freeing up my flank by aiming for them. And they are a bit closer, so I have a higher chance of seeing them. I'm going to try and spot German Group A with my Group B. And I succeed. Good. They are about to get a hot lead sandwich. So we open fire on them. Fire strength of 2, reduced to 0 by the buildings they're in. They have no concealment card, so there's a good chance here. Nope, Private Schultz is fine, and so is Private Beck. That was disappointing. My Group C can't do anything, not with those enormous firing cards, so I'll just draw a card. So over to the Germans. It's fairly quiet on their front too. They are going to get this group. Oh no, we're not going to play the flank movement card. They're going to get this group moving forwards, try and take advantage of increased, decreasing the range, I should say. So they lose their temporary flanking fire position on me, but they're going to try and get it back as soon as they can. They're quite happy with all of those cards, except they may get rid of the smoke one, because smoke has no effect in night scenarios, so there's no point them hanging on to that. They might as well see what advantageous cards they can get. On my side of things, still really lousy options. I'm going to wait on events for now, which is a very risky thing to do, but I'm going to see if I can see their Group A with my Group A. And we do. So this very weak firing card is... Oh, wait. Maybe it might be worth doing that instead. I'll leave them for now. They've spotted Group A, so it's fine. Group B is going to try and spot Group C. And they do. So I'm actually going to send some lead flying at their Group C instead. So reduced to 0 for night, but +1 because it's a... Oh no, they still benefit from the hill rats, but they are moving. So it's a base fire strength of 0, which they'll considerately reduce to -1. Private Schussel is fine. Private Schumacher, because of his broken weapon, he is pinned. And lastly, Private Streak is fine. So, okay, no casualties to that group, but I have caused them a spot of bother at least by pinning Schumacher again. Nothing else from me, so I'll just draw. Useless card now that my sniper's dead. So I have made things a bit tricky for the Germans. They really wanted to do some flanking, and they want to save the woods card for the flanking position. But what they'll do for now is just have their men go to ground in the open while they're still fairly distant from me, and see if they can sort out Schumacher before getting that group moving again. So they'll keep everything they've got. Draw 2 cards. Now I can do nothing with any of that lot, so those 2 are getting discarded. Oh well, could be worse. I seem to be saying that a lot these days. Right. Ah, the Germans have many options. Okay, their Group A is going to try and annoy my Group A with a bit of harassing fire. They see us fairly easily. So fire strength of 1 reduced to -1 by my building. I have no concealment cards. So Private Nosenko, you're fine. Private Sokolov, you're all right. Private Zyakov, you're okay. And Private Korniev, you're fine, and one of the German rifles breaks. Private Schultz, oh, thank you very much, Schultz. Nice to see the enemy can suffer malfunctions too. So, their Group B is going to try and see if they can do my Group C some mischief, and they can. Oh yes, I'm always forgetting. Group A fired, and now Group B is firing. So they're going to fire that card. So fire strength of 1, reduced to -1 by the woods. Here we go. Private Storchillo is fine. Private Christov, you're fine. Private Wihailoft, you're all right. Sergeant Aliv, dare I ask, you're okay, amazing. And Bybakov, you're barely all right. That was a close one. But once again, the Germans have succeeded in tearing through a huge part of the deck. And if dawn comes, they'll be the ones sitting in an advantageous position when their advance begins. And I will be caught badly away from where I want to be in terms of trying to slow them down. Oh dear, so much for the mission. Be a tough one explaining that one. Okay, looking at my options. None of these are brilliant. Might be worth me seeing if I can hit Group C again. So my Group B is going to try to spot them, and we do. So we are going to open fire. Fire strength of 1. They're no longer on the hill, so it's up to 2. But they do have a concealment card. So it's back down to 1. Private Schussel, no. Private Schumacher, no. Private Streak, no. Okay, that's a pity. Would have been worthwhile if we'd been able to do some damage there. Okay, what are the Germans going to do by way of retaliation? Doesn't look like a lot. Private Schultz will try to fix his rifle. Oh my gosh, he is unarmed. Whatever went wrong with it in that last spat, it's gone seriously wrong. Let me just find him an unarmed token. That has done me an enormous service. It's rather a pity he can't retrace his steps and find the rifle that Wallach dropped, because that group has suddenly become very vulnerable indeed. As for the other German groups, I'm looking at my hand, don't want to do that. There's not a lot they can do with the cards they're holding, so they'll simply discard that one. A rally card, okay. Back to us. We're in an equally difficult position. Well, we're not going anywhere fast, so I don't know. I'm going to chuck out that fire card because it's been sitting in my hand for ages, and also that gully because I don't think I'll find much use for it. Let's see what I get in return. Oh, all right, a movement option. I'll take it. So for the Germans, nothing on that side, nothing from their centre. They will rally Private Schumacher because their whole grand plan for doing horrible things to my Group B depends upon it. And they really want to get that group moving, I think, because sitting out there in the open's not done them too many favours. Oh, and they will discard that useless card. Okay. Right, my Group A is already at relative range 5 to them, but I don't really want to go faffing in with infiltration just yet. I think what I really want to do is get my Group C out of that horribly vulnerable flanking position. So I'm going to order them forward. It also gives them a chance to try and close with the German Group C and ascertain whether they can do them some damage. So they get to their relative range 2 chit. Might also give them some decent chances against German Group B, you never know. So over to the German side, they are, it's very tempting for them to leapfrog their boys forward again before performing a flanking manoeuvre. Yes, and it will neaten their line up because their fire support group is lagging at the moment. So they will take a chance, get their men moving forward. And just to be exceptionally mean, they will discard a stream card on me. That dratted stream strikes again. And they'll draw their cards. Okay. Right, over to me. I am going to try and spot them with my Group B because that's such a lovely target and we see them. Right, here it goes, or here it comes rather. Rather weak firing card, but it's all I've got. So reduced to 1 for knight, but +2 because they're moving and we're from a hill. So back up to 3. They do have a concealment card to knock me back down to 2. Private Schussel, note you're fine. Private Schumacher, you're fine. And Private Streak is fine as well. Oh, that was disappointing. So all that ammo expended and we've hit nothing, and they were in open ground too. All right, I'm just going to sigh deeply and draw another card. Ooh, that might be a bit better. So the Germans, feeling a bit put upon, are going to throw themselves into a gully just to get us off their backs for a while. It's quite a sensible move because they're not quite in the position that they want to be in yet. So they're going to use that gully to get where they want to go. All of the cards they have in hand are valuable at the moment, so they're going to hang on to all of those. In the meantime, I have lost sight of them because they've seemingly disappeared into the earth. So, My group A is going to spot their group A, I hope at any rate, and they do. In which case, let us just spray them with fire for want of anything better to do. So it's -1 altogether, given the terrain. They have no concealment cards, so Private Schultz is fine despite his lack of a weapon, and so is Private Beck. Oh, come on. What is wrong with my firing? Oh dear. Oh, and you guys can get a marker for having lit yourselves up for no purpose. Possibly useful. So the Germans are going to immediately capitalize on their new position by making a flanking move. Do you know what? I just realized I'm a muppet. I'm on a hill. I could have seen them. Oh well, tactical error in the heat of the moment. I'll let them have that one. But now that it's my turn again, they're not going to get away with it that easily. So we are going to try and spot them, Group B onto their Group C. And we do see them. At relative range 3, our firepower is 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, rats, we can't shoot them even if we wanted to. Although my Group A, amazingly, has enough firepower at relative range 5 to do some damage to that group. So we might try that instead. Let's see if we spot them. We most certainly do. So I'm going to shoot. It's reduced to 2 and then to 0 for the building, so that's not amazing. Here we go. Private Schultz is fine. Private Beck is also fine. Yarr. I have a horrible feeling I just wasted a very good firing card to little purpose. Never mind. Let's see what happens. So the Germans are mostly unresponsive to what I'm doing, except for their busily manoeuvring Group C, who have re-emerged into some woods. And have once again achieved a flanking position on my hill, only now it's from much closer range. Oh dear. Yeah, my battle charge has really not been all that clever this time. They've got some good, useful and potentially annoying cards in their hands, so they're going to keep them. Keep their options as open as possible. I am just going to discard because really my cards are hopeless at the moment. Not brilliant. In the meantime, the Germans are going to start having some fun with me. Or at least that group is. So at relative range 3... Oh, they can develop a lot of firepower. Let's see if they can spot me, though. Yes, they can. Of course they can. So they are going to open fire from their new position of the woods, and they're going to play that monster of a fire card against me. So reduced to 4, down to 3 because I'm on the hill. I have no concealment cards, so this is really going to hurt. So Private Zaharov is not killed, but even courageous Zaharov has been pinned. Corporal Semenov is fine. Private Nezevich has been pinned. And Private Bojorny, was very nearly killed, but is pinned instead. Drat, that was devastating. We really did not need to have that happen to us. And they'll, in a very satisfied way, just draw a card. So, back to me. It's not looking good, is it? Let's see what we can do with Group A. I'm only expending this weak firing card on that group because they're the lowest morale Germans. So it's an attack at -2 with all modifiers thrown in. Come on, guys, you can do it. Nope, Schultz is fine, and so is Beck. And just to make life even worse for me, deck 2 has just run out. We are now in the final deck of the game. Oh dear. So I'll just quickly reshuffle the deck while I contemplate how on earth I'm supposed to achieve my mission objectives in these circumstances. The truly galling thing is, although I probably don't realise it in these conditions, I've actually inflicted more casualties on the Germans than I've received. Well, one sniper each, and we've killed one of theirs, but really their handling of this battle has been superb, whereas mine has been sadly wanting. I'm going to play a rally 2 to try and restore some firepower to my Group B. Okay, that's done something to mitigate it a bit. I really need to get Group C away from that stream. That is not a good position at all. Okay, so back to the Germans. They're very happy with where their Group C is. Their Group A is already butting up against us and keeping us in place. So the logical thing now is to make me sweat even more by advancing their Group B. They don't need to bother about the lack of flanking fire anymore. In the meantime, their Group C is going to try and spot me, which they do, or spot my Group B rather, and continue to chop me up with fire. Ouch. So 3 reduced to 1 for the hill to 2, and I have no concealment cards. Private Zaharov, you're all right. Corporal Semenov, ooh, that was close. He is pinned, but he could have been killed. That was close. Private Nezovich is okay. Private Pojorny is okay. So we're hanging on up there, but I'm really not enjoying this at the moment. And they will most definitely hang on to all their cards. Everything they've got there is useful. So, what to do? I am most definitely going to be using that rally card on Corporal Semenov. And I'm going to tell Group C to try and get themselves over that stream. And they fail. Oh no. Oh, okay. That's a help. So over to the Germans. Oh yes, as ever, I forgot to give them a fire counter last turn, but I don't think it matters too much at this stage of things because they are going to, if they can spot me. Yes, they do. They are going to hit my position on the hill again. So it's down to 1, thankfully. So Zaharov, you're okay. Semenov is okay. Nezovich is okay. Pojorny is okay. We're doing well. We are doing well, he says, trying to convince himself. And the Germans will just draw another card. And I will remember their token this time. So I think I'm going to attempt, with my limited options, to try and pull a bit of a blinder. Let's see if these fellows manage to ford, and they do, which means the next terrain they get into will give them flanking fire, hopefully against the advancing German Group B, but we'll have to move quickly. Some firing cards would be useful. The Germans really will just continue pouring fire onto the hill, subject to spotting me. Oh, they don't manage it this time. In which case, their Group B is going to try and spot my Group C, which they do. So it's going to be moving fire, although they've got more than enough firepower with their machine pistols at this range. So reduced to 1 for night, but back up because we're a moving target. So 2, oh dear, here we go. So German Group B is going to fire at my Group C. So Private Storchillo, oh dear, is pinned. Private Christoph is pinned. Private Mihailoft is fine. Okay, good news. Junior Sergeant Aliv, amazingly, is fine. And Private Bybakov is all right as well. Okay, that could have been an awful lot more horrendous than it actually was. I was, for some reason, unkindly expecting Aliv to be pinned again. Ah, the Germans might now have a surfeit of rally cards. Oh well. Something they'll have to deal with on their own time. Right. What can I do? I'm going to carry on. Sorry, should have given you guys a firing token. I'm going to carry on trying to break the group on my left. Subject to spotting them, yes. So firepower of 1 adjusted to -2 for their build. Sorry, -1 for their buildings. Here we go. Private Schultz. I have pinned him. Finally. All that shooting and we finally pinned someone. Hooray! Private Beck, of course, is fine. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Can't really do anything with my group in the centre because Pajorni is still pinned and we have no firing cards. It's all pretty hopeless. But my Group C is across the stream, and despite the fact that 2 of its men are pinned, we have achieved a temporary flanking fire on Group B. So let me just find myself one of those lovely flank counters. Okay. Might actually have a chance at doing something worthwhile fairly soon. What of the Germans? Now they are a bit stuck now because they've got far too many cards in their hand. They might as well chuck out the Rally 1 and Rally 2 because they've got so many rally cards, and see what they get instead. Oh, I just remembered they can't do that because they're not elite infantry. No, whoops. Put that back, take that back. Right, back to me. What can we do? Carry on trying to break that group. We do see them, and we are going to light them up a bit. So -1, -2 altogether. Nope, Schultz is fine. And Beck is fine. It was a bit of a calculated risk for the Germans not rallying Schultz, but I thought it was worth just giving them that discard. But that was probably an ill-considered decision, and one they'd probably better do something about next turn. Otherwise, I've got cards I can't use because I've pinned men. So I'm just going to draw. Oh, now I get movement cards, now that loads of my people are pinned. The Germans are going to rally Schultz because he's in a very vulnerable place and is quite likely to run away. They're still on the move. There's not much they can do, so they're just going to refill their hand. Now, unfortunately, I am going to have to pack up this game because I have my gaming group turning up in a very short time, and they're going to require the table and the playmat. So, as this is the last mission in the campaign, I'm going to take a bit of a wild guess as to how it was going to go. To put you in the picture, we are halfway through the final deck of the scenario, so dawn is going to be breaking very soon. We are still perilously close to our start line. I don't see how I can get to range chit 4 in the time that I have left. So I think I have two painful options at this stage. If it were a longer campaign, I would probably begin withdrawing my men in the hopes of preserving my squad and succeeding better at future missions. But as this is the final mission of this campaign, I will say that I did the heroic Soviet thing. We tried our best to get to the objective. German resistance was too fierce. We were unable to do it, so we ended up holding this admittedly formidable line comprising a hill with buildings on the flanks, but we were unable to push through where we needed. What this unfortunately means in terms of the wider picture is that come the morning, the strategic point we should have advanced that commanded the road and the surrounding area was in German hands, and so their advance was able to continue unimpeded. They were able to sweep past the defences on their way to the Volga, and my unit would have been one of many that was simply surrounded, cut off, and left to wither on the vine for the second wave to pretty much just mop up. Now, whether we fight to the last man and the last bullet or get taken prisoner is a bit of a moot point, really, but either way, I think it's fair to say that the Germans, unless something extraordinarily lucky happens to me over the course of the rest of this game, I'll never know. Barring incredible good fortune, I think I have lost this. So, sad to say, after a very promising start, my poor conscripts did their best in their first ever night action, but we just weren't quite there in terms of making it. I won't bother updating the campaign roster because you've already seen how things go. But yes, that was quite enjoyable. I will think of doing another campaign at some point because I really enjoyed that, even though it ended on a bit of a loss for me. I might even try a different nationality. I've never tried the United States for more than individual missions, so they might be quite fun to do. Maybe even try and follow the route of either the 82nd or the 101st Airborne, because that would make for some really interesting missions in Upfront. But sadly, I will ring the curtain down on this one. We will become one of many little footnotes in the history of the advance to Stalingrad. I suppose the only consolation is that whatever fate befalls us here, we miss out on the horrific experience of the fighting for that city. So there we have it, the end of my very short and relatively inglorious campaign. Thank you all very much for following this series. I really do appreciate it. It's always awesome to see you, and thanks as always for your company. I hope all of you, my regulars, have enjoyed this one. And to anyone, as ever, who's visiting my channel for the first time, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope all of you found it interesting. If you haven't seen the earlier ones, please do take a look, or if there's anything else on the channel that catches your fancy, you're more than welcome. As always, it's deeply appreciated, and thank you ever so much for tuning in. Bye.